Welcome to the Retail Leasing Playbook podcast, where I go chapter by chapter of my book, The Retail Leasing Playbook. Today, we will be discussing chapter 47, Get Creative with Pop-ups. So if you follow me on Instagram, and Facebook, you know that I love pop-ups. When I'm out canvassing, if I find a retailer that has a lot of merchandise, but they're concerned about maybe my rents or my location, I, as the owner of the property, can do this. I say, what about a pop-up? Recently, right during COVID, so December 2020, I believed that toys were going to be a big purchase. And there were supply chain issues, as we know, on delivery. So I thought it would be great in one of my 4 vacancies at Shops of Arrowhead to bring in a toy store. So I actively pursued toys to find a toy store, and I actually found a remote control hobby store that had 2 locations. And I said, do you want to do a pop-up for October, November, December at no rent? Now, I know you guys can't offer that probably, but let's just go with this, and we're just talking about creative ideas here. The guy said, well, what's the catch? And I said, there's no catch. The goal is I would love for you to do well and then sign a long-term lease afterwards. So after talking to some of my other tenants that I've done pop-ups with, and so the guy felt comfortable that I wasn't trying to scam him, he ended up opening in mid-October. He did about, I think, 30 or 40 grand in October, those 2 weeks. In November, he did, I think, 100, and then in December over 200, and they signed a 3-year lease at market rents. So it was a win-win-win for all of us. They took the space as is, and I'm so happy they're tracking. I just saw the 2021 sales, and they did over $1.2 million in my center. So they're a destination use. They took the space as is. I gave no TI. All I did was say, come and do a tryout for 3 months. So I've done that with the University of Miami apparel store. I did a 6-month pop-up with them during football season. They've been in my center now for, I think, 6 or 7 years. They have expanded from the original 1,100 square foot store to 2,800 square feet, and they pay in the mid-40s triple net. And they also pay mid-40s triple net on a storage bay, which I tell them that they shouldn't do that, but they do. So, and I've done lots more pop-ups. These are in centers that I get $55 a square foot in rent. So it's not like I'm, reducing my value of the property. I'm trying them out. My ability after the trial period, whether it's the 6 months of football season, with him, I did $1,000 a month for 6 months. And then at the end, he went from $300,000 in a nearby warehouse area in an industrial space to $800,000 in my property, which is why he signed a 5-year lease at market rents. So I love pop-ups. I have had pop-ups that haven't worked too. I had a center that I brought in a billiards guy, pool tables. He took a former Vision workspace for 6,000 square feet. He probably put $50,000 worth of merchandise. I did $1,000 a month, that's 6,000 square feet for 6 months, and he ended up not doing the sales and he moved out. But I tried it. So it doesn't always work. I don't do it with anyone that needs to invest a lot of money, right? You would never do a pop-up with a restaurant unless it was a turnkey second-gen restaurant that they could just walk into. But a restaurant or a hair salon, anything that they would have to do build out, that's not going to work. So mostly the Miami apparel store, the hobby store, the billiards place, they had other locations, they had merchandise, and they could move in. So think about that. Remember, we talked about the last chapter, traffic drives sales and sales drives rents. The more people you can bring to your center that drives traffic, it helps the other centers as well. So happy to talk to any of your bosses who don't like the idea of pop-ups. Send them my way. But I really like the idea, especially, again, for retail. It's very hard for all of us to bring retail uses into our centers versus restaurants and service. So this really helps the retailers get over the hump of the concern of if they're going to do business in your center. So that is this chapter for the week. If you like the podcast, share it, tell your friends about it, and subscribe. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, Rockstars. Thank you for listening to this week's podcast. I hope you learned a few nuggets to help increase occupancy and lower vacancy. See you next week, where we'll go over a few more chapters of my book, The Retail Leasing Playbook.